Hi, everybody. It is Thursday, December 16th. And as you know, I get downloads every once in a while. I got one 3 days ago. I'm going to try to summarize it as best I can. I get a lot of information, and sometimes I call it spoiler alerts because it's basically telling kind of what's really going on, like the bigger picture. And it's just sometimes it's hard to fathom, and it's a bit of a stretch for us because it's almost, well, it sounds spiritual because I guess in a sense it is, because when we hear the word spiritual or whatever, we're always thinking like some sort of church or something. We're thinking churchy lessons. It's like lessons or something. But spirituality, really, all that really means is getting in touch with the inner you that was your soul, and why it incarnated in a physical body. So it's, in a sense, it's kind of it's your personal relationship with, well, I guess you could call it source or creator too, because we're all a fractal of that. We're all pieces of that. So in a sense, I am just a little tiny dust particle. My soul is of creator, like everybody's is. Like we're all just little pieces of a bigger entity. So anyway, it kind of sounds woo-woo and everything, but my guides keep filling out the information of, like I said, the bigger picture. It's like, or I call it spoiler alert. The spoiler alert is main thing about that is that we never die. We're eternal beings. We're just inhabiting a physical body. These physical avatars or bodies, they die. They come and go, and we inhabit them for different experiences. So I know that's kind of and that's why, to me, I'm really just sort of put my little adventure on cruise every once in a while, because I realize it's like, well, I just kind of let it play out, because I know I'm not really in danger. Once you escape this reality, you go back to a lot better world. Not world, but you go back to what you really are, is just a spirit and sort of observing and learning. So anyway, they clarified that with me once in a while, and they did that on the 13th again. And it's this concept of that we're living in a matrix. It is true, but see, when we say that, like especially a holographic matrix, we're thinking it's like a false world. In some ways, it kind of is, because us as a reality is, we are just pure energy. So because we're pure energy, it's like we have no limitations. And so in order for us to learn things, it's like we got to slow down. Like, I think I've talked about that before. You have to stop and smell the roses every once in a while, that type of thing. So we want to know the intimate relationship with, not only with other souls, so we can interact with them. So in a sense, we create these, I call them, I wrote this down, granted I'm just sort of dictating. I'm being dictated to, and I just kind of fill these. I've got 2 pages here. It's so much information. That's why I usually don't do long talks about it or anything. But I'm just kind of trying to summarize it, because maybe this will ring true to somebody out there. So I titled it "Being Grounded and Being Connected," and that's why I remember when my guys were telling me that they said, you've got to be grounded. And I was trying to think, well, I don't understand what that really means. But now I get it more. Like they said, this is like an ongoing lesson for me as well. It's actually, to be honest, it's more of a excuse me, it's more like remembering. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there will have the same experience. Like, we're going to remember this stuff. It's not really, well, it's not news, because this is really old information. But it's just that we're not privy to it for a lot of different reasons. Um, excuse me. But yeah, I wrote down here. It's like it says all universes or physical matrices are learning or playground zones. Is kind of how I wrote it. And one of the one of the things that's everywhere, the ether of especially spirituality, but is this power of love. Like love is something that doesn't it can't be destroyed. It's always everywhere. And uh, for, sometimes when you feel it really intensely, it almost feels like it's a physical force because in some ways it is. It's like it's like the electricity that runs absolutely everything, absolutely everything. Um, but because it's just pure energy, again, it wants to slow down and become physical, well, what we call physical. And it would slow those molecules down so they're a little more solid, that type of thing. Um, but anyway, so uh, what my guys were telling me again and reminded me is like, um, uh, it says basically in order to refine itself or purify itself, and we're talking all of us, um, we decided to let we want to create these reality things and let things freely take their own course. And it was to play things out with as little interference as possible. Basically, free will. That's kind of like why we live in a free will matrix. And there was action and reaction, reality domes, kind of. These universes, we create them in universes. There's lots of different. There's multiple universes out there. We just happen to be in this one right now. Um, let's see. Um, these universes use they use linear time, sort of, but even that can be manipulated. Uh, and souls, which is us, all of us, we choose to incarnate into these and connect with other consciousness. Now, this is the word that I have a hard time not only pronouncing, but also understanding is what is our consciousness? Like what is that? That defines who we are. That's our awareness that we exist. It's our soul's awareness. It's like okay, so um, like I wrote down here, it says our consciousness is what drives the storylines. So in other words, we come in here and we interact with each other. So that creates we create our own reality, our own worlds and stuff. I mean, the situation we're in now is not normal, just so you understand. So I'm not talking about what's happening to us right now. I'm talking about idealistically what we normally do with these things. Because right now, as you know, we're because we are energetic beings, we're being used and manipulated by parasites that are using us, and they are steering the story instead of us. So we're getting out of that. But this explains kind of what goes on in these realities of these worlds. It says all universes, and there's lots, absolutely multiple, have certain attributes or basic physicality rules. There was the law of physics, and we're not all the same. Like not only different planets are different, but also universes have different physics to them. We understand Earth's physics, basic gravity and things like that. We understand how that. These are self-contained systems and are self-generating and self-replicating. Well, we can call them Mother Nature, but it's literally like as if we made a reality computer program of a world, and we made it so it runs by itself. It's self-contained and it runs by itself. It's got physical law of physics rules, and they play out. But as you know, because we're actually the computer software, we're actually, we can write these codes, we can manipulate them. It's people call that magic, and in reality it is. Well, that's what we call it, but I'm just saying, yeah, like there's magicians that know how to manipulate realities, physicality. I mean, I'd be new at that, but I know that we can do it. And these also, what we've created them, as you noticed, is they have kind of like death cycles, rebirth cycles, and from something that, because we've made physical worlds, we made it so that when a plant dies, it'll actually become part of the earth again, and then it's reborn, and all those nutrients make another plant grow. So it's like this cycle. We made these worlds so they can just kind of exist on their own. It's like an ongoing running system. And so we come into these worlds kind of for adventure, I guess, lack of a kind of a understanding. Because we want to experience. When I say we, I mean in a sense, creator or God, whatever. But we're a fractal. We're a little piece of that. We come in here, and we want to exist and also have relationship with other fractals and stories and stuff like that. And we call them, we'll call them spiritual lessons. In some ways, it kind of is, because we learn duality. We'll learn, my little fractal has to learn not to be too selfish, but also not to be too generous. It's always these balanced things that we come in to these realities to learn, and experience things. They've been telling me this for years. This is my latest sort of explanation. They just keep filling in this story so I can understand it better. That's why I'm just going to relay what they tell me and see if it rings true to you guys as well. Let's see. I mean, that's why for instance, we even have those stories of, let's say Adam and Eve just coming from the ground, and then it creates a being, and then he breathes, and let's say God breathes the breath of life into him, and then becomes animated. It becomes a person. In a sense, that's kind of what's happening. We're this body that we inhabit, these avatars, are physical. So yeah, and they have their own systems too, as we know. Like we have, our senses and things like that. And we all know that once we die, this will be recycled and it'll go, but our spirits we animate these things. Like I said, we breathe the breath of life into them, but it's just a vehicle. I always look at my vehicle or my body. It's kind of like a car. It's like, you gotta maintain it. You gotta put the right fuel in it. That type of thing. So here's the tricky thing. Now this is something that's you really got to wrap your head around. But as far as the physics are concerned, I've been learning this just watching different videos about scientists trying to understand the physics of this world. A little on quantum physics and things like that. Excuse me. But there's always like these mysteries. They're trying to figure out. Whenever they observe something, it seems to affect the outcome, including, it's like there's neutrinos, there's like, there's different little things that they realize that their thoughts are actually controlling or interfering with these science experiments, basically. And they can't quite figure out why. Well, here's why. Because you got gravity, you got all these aspects of our physical law of physics. Well, one of them that they don't bring into the picture is consciousness. It's the ingredient that makes everything run. What we don't realize is we are the programmers of these worlds and what's happening here. The dark entities that are using us, they know that, and they're trying to keep that knowledge from us. It's almost like the secret knowledge that we are creating our own worlds, and we're just not even aware of it. So, yeah, when the scientists do these tests and they realize, well, every time we think of something, we're affecting the outcomes of these tests. That's exactly why, because by observing it, we're actually manipulating it, and that is kind of the scientific secret, I guess. So what I wrote down here, we manifest life. It's basically with our consciousness. This is what this physical reality needs to give it form and direction. Basically, the breath of life. We create life with our thoughts and imagination. We create the storylines and the adventures, the obstacles to overcome. These strengthen and define our nature. In order to do this, we need a duality world of yin and yang, positive, negative polarities. Because you can't, if everything went good, obviously you won't learn anything. You need obstacles or challenges in order to grow. So that's kind of what we do. So we've actually written that into these programs of these realities. These are learning schools for souls, is what they reminded me of. In order for them to have a big impact or a memorable experience, and these are going to be part of our soul memories. And it's like, oh wow, I remember when that happened. It's like how we learn even on Earth. Like we go through experiences, and that's how we get skills or anything. So, but we've made these realities seem very extremely real and all-encompassing. We enter these worlds with a clean slate normally, like we purposely come in with no memory. That way, it's more impactful. You know what I mean? And that way, we feel vulnerable and lost. In other words, it's like a whole new lesson. It's kind of interesting because we actually choose that, and we kind of do it to ourselves, not knowing it. There's not only is there technical ways to do that, which our controllers have found out, so they know how to wipe our memories as well. But again, the main force that it keeps everything together is the ether of love. Love is the energy for everything. So that's why we generally don't stray too far from it, and also why we always seek it. We not only do we want to be loved, but we love to love things. That's why especially for pet owners, we want to take care of things. We have this nurturing nature of wanting to take care of something, and that's in a sense sourced through us. Especially if you have children too. It's like you want to nurture, and that's like one of the more extreme feelings of love you can have, especially for your family and things like that. You're very, very connected to them. Basically, that's what everything is made out of. And love is inescapable. It's like you can't get away from it or destroy it or anything. It is everywhere, and it bonds all elements, physical and spiritual, etherical, together. We usually don't realize we are driving our own destinies, and we feel like we are victims of circumstance. That's kind of how we feel. The main lessons are choices, and that's something I learned early on in my life. And this is just a series of choices. It's like I look at it like school and like lessons. Okay, because as we know, Bad choices lead to bad consequences, and good choices lead to good consequences. Anyway, that's some basics. But we're also, one of the main things to learn too, we're basically in charge of our own storylines and lessons. What further complicates these realities, our life in these physical worlds, are other people's choices affecting ours. So in other words, we all affect each other. And we came here for that, to be honest. It's like that's kind of our social life. We like to be able to be a part of everybody's choices as well. We're up for the adventure to a certain extent. Not when it's controlled badly, like that's what we're getting out of. But let's see. They also remind me again, love is still the most important, powerful force, and can ultimately fix any problem. Yeah, you can basically, it's the ether that puts everything back into balance again, all the time. That's why we feel that for each other. Anyway, we always come down here. We try lots of different scenarios to learn, experience life, physical life. The more selfish you become, the more separated from Source you are, and to the extent of reverse polarity, they reminded me of that. It's like you can go all the way too far, but also the other way too. The more selfless you are or become, the more you become one with Source, or with God, or with the Creator. So ultimately, and they've shown this to me so many times, see, balance is the main lesson that we always try to learn. A little of all the attributes that we have with control, that includes emotions. In other words, if you try to just, well, that's what we call it. It's a balancing act. It's really hard to do. It's really hard to accomplish, because ultimately that's what we want. We want strength, but we want softness. We want someone to be extremely strong, but yet at the same time be vulnerable. It's all these complete kind of almost they're opposites, but that's that balance. It's hard to do. So again, they remind me. They said consciousness and intent steer all creation. So again, I mean, I've got stacks of papers, and this is kind of one. And I know it's kind of woo, and it kind of sounds a little bit spiritual or whatever, but I thought I'd read it out to you guys, so maybe it'll calm you guys down. I mean, it's made me understand again, kind of why I'm here, that type of thing. So, so basically, things aren't as bad as they seem. They seem bad in this physical reality, but first of all, we're fixing that. But I'm just saying, ultimately, nobody dies. Life, your soul goes on for eternity. Now, I don't know how old your soul is or how old my soul is. I'm still learning, because I came in here with amnesia too. So I'm awakening to this. So as we go forward, these concepts, everybody will understand them, and we'll kind of we'll be able to be on the same page, and we'll all have more awareness and more connection with each other, because that's kind of what the dark entities have been doing all this time. They've been separating us and making us fight each other, making us become selfish. It's been a bad experience down here, and we're fixing it. And this operation is coming to a conclusion. So stay positive, and that's why staying positive is really important, because actually you're driving your own reality. Okay, that's all I have for today, and I'll talk to you guys later.